right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are really happy to start this webinar. But first, we always have to do the right things and talk about who is the organization who gave us the fund. I'm going to read quickly the disclaimer. The funding for this project is support in part by Virginia Board of People with Disabilities under grant number 241 VASCDD from the U.S. Administration of Community Living, Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. Grantees undertaking projects with government sponsorship are encouraged to express freely their findings and conclusions. Point of view or opinions do not necessarily represent official ACL policy. As always, we have to start with our webinars with that disclaimer. And now to do the welcoming to Daniela Sykes. Hopefully I did the right pronunciation for your last name, Daniela. Welcome.
Yes, it's Sykes. Thank you.
Sykes. See?
I know, it's okay.
I try.
I'm used to it. No worries. You did great.
And Daniela is currently serves as a unit supervisor for the Virginia Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. She has an extensive experience helping young people transitioning from school to adulthood and preparing them to obtain career training and meaningful job opportunities. And I congratulate you, Daniela, for this amazing job that you have been doing with all communities, including Latino youth at the high schools. And what a way to celebrate October month. We celebrate employment, the National Employment Month for people with disabilities. And you have been key in doing that and helping youth to find opportunities for them to live a life of productive and independently. Welcome, Daniela. It's an honor for Independence Center to have you as our speaker, especially in this month that we celebrate this special event of National Employment Month. Bienvenida.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the team at ECNV, at the Independence Center, and for just all the support you guys provide to individuals with disabilities. This is a community who is so capable, but are not always given the appropriate opportunities to show how capable they are to actively participate in communities and employment. So thank you for the opportunity to present. And if you guys are ready, I'll be more than happy to share some information
You're ready
about
to
DARS.
share.
Wonderful. Let me get it on the screen, and please let me know once you start seeing it. That way I can just...
Yep, it's ready. Thank you.
Great. So as Rosalina said, my name is Daniela Sykes. I'm the unit supervisor in the Fairfax office of DARS. That's the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. I am also one of many vocational counselors in our office and also throughout the entire state of Virginia. And I'll be more than happy to share a little bit about what our agency does. There are many departments in our agency. All right, it looks like now it's changing screens. Good. So a quick overview of our program. First, DARS has many departments that fall under the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services. I specifically work for the Division of Rehabilitative Services. There are not the aging side of services, not the adult protection side of services. My office specifically focuses on the Division of Rehabilitative Services, so I will focus on discussing the support that we provide, and it's really geared to support and train for employment goals. There are two services that fall under the Division of Rehabilitative Services. One is the Vocational Rehabilitation Services. It's very possible that you hear it called VR. And what we do under the VR program is we offer services to empower individuals with disabilities to enter the workforce, or to return to work if they had to, leave for whatever reason. We also have pre-employment and transition services. You'll hear this called pre-ETS. What pre-ETS services is a program that offers students with disabilities an early start at career exploration and preparation for adult life. So those are two services that we provide. Pre-employment services is part of VR, and most counselors are able to work in both programs as they work with individuals. So I'll go a little bit. I'll review the pre-employment and transition services for students. This is a service that's specifically for students. So I'll describe what the services are. So pre-employment and transition services consist of a set of 5 core services, which include job exploration counseling, which gives students the opportunity to figure out what kind of careers are out there. The goal for this is to help them become motivated towards, to having goals, whether that's long-term goals for a career that requires many years of training, or whether that is, just the first step into a career that maybe takes many years to build and requires to build a little bit of job experience at a time. So we worked through some of those paths. That's the job exploration and counseling piece. The next one is work-based learning experiences. What that is the use of workplace or work settings to help students gain knowledge and skills that will be important to work, to help them understand better what it would be like to work in this type of setting, in this type of job. It gives them the chance to observe and ask questions of professionals who are working in those fields. It also helps them make the connection between what they're learning in their schools and how that will translate and go apply into the place of work, or maybe what they should be learning in their schools for the following year, or as they go into training, post-secondary training, figure out what they need to be learning to successfully transition into a career that they're interested in. We also provide counseling on educational and training options. We help students learn about different certificate programs, different educational programs where they can get licenses for employment. This can also include an associate's degree or a college degree, depending on what their goal is and where their abilities and interests are. These are services that we provide just to help students just better understand, what options are out there once they're done with their high school career. And if they're interested in a career that requires training or licensing, that they can understand the options of how to step into that, and also to have the support to do well as they're transitioning into further education. We also provide workplace readiness training. That is preparation for adult life by developing social and independent living skills. Sometimes that means we teach students how to interact with employers in the community, how to ask a store that has a sign that shows that they're hiring for specific positions, how to go into a store and ask them if they're hiring and how can they apply, just how to promote themselves and how to focus on their strengths, also how to communicate with coworkers and maybe with their supervisor, just different skills like that, how to address maybe challenging workplace conversations and how to interact, and also, teaching them the differences of, your coworkers are not necessarily your friends. So the way you would talk about different aspects of maybe your life or work would probably look different. And what does that look like? What does professionalism in the workplace look like? And we give them opportunities to develop those skills so that they can start off well and be able to maintain a job that hopefully they enjoy. And then we also provide instruction in self-advocacy. That means that we give students the chance to learn how to effectively communicate what they need, the best way for them to learn, and to do the work that they need to be doing regarding employment. So they can communicate their needs and also make decisions for their lives and their future. People who are eligible to receive pre-ed services are students with a disability. That would be an individual in secondary or post-secondary education or other recognized education programs. So that could be taking adult education classes for a specific job or career or training that would translate into employment later on or would lead to employment. They need to be between the ages of 14 and 22 years old. And if they receive special education in their school, that means if they have an IEP, they would be considered eligible. Or if it's an individual with a disability, and if they have a 504, they're also eligible for DARS services. But also if they have a diagnosis, even if they don't have a 504 or an IEP with their schools, but they do have barriers that could keep them from employment, they can also apply for DARS services and they're eligible for the pre-ed services that we provide. Students can be eligible or potentially eligible for the VR program and still receive pre-ed services. What that means is that they can be enrolled into our VR, or vocational rehabilitation services, which I will review in a little bit, and also receive pre-ed services if they meet the category that I just reviewed. They're a student between the ages of 14 and 22. And now I'm going to jump over to the other side, which is the vocational rehabilitation side, and I'm going to review some of those services as well. So the DARS, the Division of Rehabilitative Services, offers the pre-employment and transition services, which I reviewed, and then the vocational rehabilitation services. And those are all of it, both pre-eds and VR, vocational rehabilitation, are to assist people with disabilities to prepare for, secure, and retain or regain employment. The focus is on competitive and integrated employment. And I know that sounds kind of strange to hear, so I always try to, explain a little bit what that means, competitive and integrated employment. What that means is that individuals who work with DARS and have a vocational rehabilitation case open, that they're working, taking steps towards the goal of finding employment that is available to the community, that is integrated. What that means is that it's for everybody. It's not exclusive. They're not only working with other people with disabilities. It's not only individuals with disabilities that are applying for that job. It's employment that is for everyone, employment in the community, and it's employment that has the opportunity to, that could have the opportunity to move up in that job to the next, to a better position within the company if that's if the company has those opportunities. So that's what a competitive and integrated employment is. Here's some examples of vocational rehabilitation services that individuals who work with DARS can be referred to if they need them. So we have diagnostics, evaluations, and assessments. We have vocational evaluators to help adults and students figure out what kind of careers are appropriate for them, where their skills are. And, I often, especially with the younger students I have, a lot of times they just don't know what jobs they would be good at and they just are not sure what kind of career. So we have some help with figuring out those things. A lot of times we have individuals who are changing careers, but they don't know what kind of career they want to pursue. So it's really great that we can provide some evaluations to provide guidance to that. We also have disability awareness counseling and vocational and career path counseling. So it's very common for vocational rehabilitation counselors to meet with clients in their office and just talk about, what barriers they're facing as they're applying for jobs or as they're looking for jobs or trying to figure out what job would be right for them. It's pretty typical for those conversations to happen with their counselor and to understand better, oh, this aspect of my job is a little bit difficult because of some of the barriers of my disability, but these are some tools that will be very effective to help me better manage that, and to help me show that I'm very capable of doing this work. So we have those conversations. We also talk about career path counseling, like where to start a job. Maybe your goal is to be the CEO of a company, right? But you don't start out as a CEO. So we talk about, what's the first step for that? What's the first step? Where can you get started if your goal is to be in the healthcare field? Where are your skills? Where are you at now? And what can be the next step that will get you a little bit closer to that goal that you have? and let's discuss what services can help you get to that next step or next stage. We also assist with job search and placement, and follow along assistance, and that really depends on everybody's needs. Everybody is different, and everybody needs different levels of support. So based on whatever levels of support an individual needs, we can provide also different levels of support in the process of finding a job, and also training for a job. And that's not just the education side, but also starting a new job. There's still a training aspect when individuals start at a new job. So we also have supports for that if an individual needs that. And we can provide follow along assistance. What that means is that even once a case with DARS is closed, there's still somebody who will be checking in, usually a job coach who checks in to make sure that things continue to go well at a job, because we know sometimes situations change, supervision changes, and somebody didn't know accommodations for a person or something like that. So we provide follow along services to assist with that. If anything does come up when an individual is successfully employed, that they can continue to have supports, even if it's minimal, it's still there. And then vocational post-secondary training and supported employment is, I already mentioned some aspects of the post-secondary training when I discussed pre-eds, but we often look at what are some trainings that are available, whether that's local, whether that is online, if an individual would benefit from online trainings. We have those conversations if that would be a good next step, how that could be advantages for them and their goal for employment, or, and sometimes it's not, and we discuss maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe the best approach is to start with a job and build from that job. But we do have those conversations to better understand what is necessary for the goal that they have. And then we evaluate the level of support that's needed, and we can provide supported employment if that is something that the specific person would benefit from. And then we also have rehabilitation technology and engineering and assistive technology. And again, depending on the person, we do have an occupational therapist that provides assistive technology evaluations and services, and that can address many things. It can be about how to better use an app for a checklist, or if a job doesn't allow that, look at different tools that exist out there that could help an individual do well in their job. And a lot of times, we know that there is a barrier in a job, but we just don't know what would fix it. So that's what a lot of times when we bring in our assistive technology, because it's maybe an accessibility challenge that we're not aware of, or maybe it's a sensitivity to light or something like that that we're just not sure to address. So our assistive technology team is able to look at the workplace and have those discussions of what would make this a workplace where you can show that you are very capable to do your work with just slight adjustments to the environment. The eligibility criteria that DARS has is, I'll go over that information, but the first thing is there needs to be a documented physical, mental, emotional, sensory, or learning disability. The disability has to cause a substantial barrier to getting or keeping a job, and there needs to be a reasonable expectation to reach an employment outcome with the provision of vocational rehabilitation services. So you have to have a diagnosis. We just need information that your diagnosis is creating challenges to successful employment and for you to get a job or maintain a job, but also that you have a realistic goal and how to reach your goal, your employment goal. And that is something that happens through a conversation with your counselor as well. Also, individuals must be legally eligible to work in the United States. They need to live, work, or go to school in Virginia and be willing and able to go to work. So if you're interested in going to work, that's wonderful, but we need to make sure that that you not only want to work, but that you also live, work, go to school in Virginia, or that you are and that you are legally eligible to work in the United States. And how to apply to DARS services, the first, if you are a student or if you're a kid, if you're a parent here, is a student and you want to apply for DARS in the school systems for Fairfax County, if you can contact your ETR, that's the transition representative at your high school. Depending on what county you live in, it might have a different title, but every school does have a transition representative. But if you're not in school and you're an adult or you're maybe in college or other training that's post-secondary, you can also contact your local DARS office directly. And I'll have all those numbers available right at the end of my presentation. And you would complete an intake appointment with a DARS rehabilitation counselor that will likely be in one of the offices. If you're a student, that could be scheduled in your school, depending on what the school recommends for that specific intake. And you need to bring your social security card, photo ID, and whatever applicable disability documentation you have, or provide information from doctors or medical providers who would release that information to your counselor. Also, if you have health insurance information, that'd be good. And if you're a minor, a parent needs to participate or a parent needs to be there as well, or a legal guardian or guardianship documentation if you're an adult who has a legal guardian as well. The cost of DARS services, that's a question I get often, and it's important to review right before a lot of people wonder what's the cost going to be. So there is no fee for applying or gathering information to determine eligibility with DARS. So there's no financial responsibility at all to start services. And that's, once you schedule an intake, once you start meeting with your counselor, until the eligibility is completed, there's no cost. Many of the services, even after eligibility, once you've been determined eligibility, are at no cost to individuals. A lot of those services are in-house services. Finish discussing cost of DARS services. So some of the services that DARS provides do have a cost attached to them, okay? And the first step is to determine financial eligibility. We do ask for some financial information to determine that, and many of the individuals that apply for DARS services, once they provide the financial documentation that we require, are found eligible, and DARS is able to cover either the entire cost or a percentage of that. And some individuals are not always eligible for that, but those are moments when you can have a conversation with your counselor, if that's your case, to discuss, what are some cost-free services or what recommendations they might make to address some of the support that would still be beneficial that could require financial contribution. But again, the most important piece is to just be in communication with the counselor to have those conversations and to be, transparent about maybe some of those challenging aspects of counseling. And then if an individual receives SSI or SSDI, they are automatically, they're presumed eligible and they meet the financial participation criteria for cost services. And then I also want to review some of the limitations of DARS services. DARS services are not the right service for everyone. DARS is not a job placement agency. We don't have jobs for people. What we do is we work with people. We actively engage them in the process of finding a job, interviewing for a job, getting a job, and starting the training for the job and making sure that they're able to keep their job. But we don't have any jobs for individuals. Participants who work with DARS have to be in regular contact with their DARS counselor. They have to respond to our calls, texts, or emails to make sure that their case stays open and there's progress being made towards their employment goal. And DARS cannot pay for services that includes education and vocational training if the individual does not meet the financial criteria, which I reviewed a little bit before, and if the service is not needed, in order for the whether student or adult to achieve their employment goal. And there's evidence that the student or the adult would not benefit from that service. So in those situations, we wouldn't approve, a specific service because it doesn't seem necessary, or it wouldn't be beneficial. And then I also wanted to review another aspect of DARS services, which is the Wilson Workforce and Rehabilitation Center. This is a center set up in the western side of and skyline side of Virginia. And it is a campus specifically for trainings for individuals with disabilities. The Wilson Workforce and Rehabilitation Center provides individuals with disabilities comprehensive and individualized services that lead to employment and improved independence. So they have vocational evaluations, they have different trainings that they can access on campus. There's housing on campus, there's, dorms, there's a cafeteria, there's a students like activities area. So there's a lot of different ways to engage in everyday life on the campus as well, as developing some of those training skills. So there's life skill evaluations, there's medical rehabilitation, and there's also some additional services there. There's a program called PERT program. So if you are a high school student, or if you have a kid who's a high school student, and they're interested in the PERT program, this is a highly effective program that helps students understand the transition from school to work and how the skills they're learning in the school translate into a work setting. And there's evaluations where they're assisting students in the transition, but they're also doing assessments in different vocational areas. They're also assessing independent living and social skills and providing really great practical recommendations on areas where they can be working on to help them achieve their goal of independence and employment. Here is a list of some of the interest areas. There's, as you can see, these are vocational evaluations. These are not necessarily the trainings that are available there. These are different areas where they can be evaluated. When I meet with students or young adults, they often, are curious about different careers. They tried something, maybe working with their parents or with somebody they know. So they're interested in that, but they don't know if they would actually like to do it for work, or they don't know if they have all the skills needed for that. And they tell me, somebody told me I'm good with computers, or somebody told me I'm really good with my hands, so I should do an apprenticeship, but they don't know. So this is a great opportunity to evaluate those skills and see how those things that maybe others have noticed, or maybe they've noticed about themselves, how that would apply into a training or into a job, and see if the two, if that matches what the evaluators say as well. And a lot of times, if it's not necessarily a good match, the evaluators will have recommendations of different areas or careers to explore. So those vocational evaluations can be really good and very helpful to individuals who are just not sure of what they want to do. All right, does anybody have any questions for me?
We can do the questions later, Daniela.
Of
So,
course.
and also, please, if somebody can use the Q&A section or the chat for the questions, that will be great. Thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, with that, here's the contact information for DARS. If you are in Northern Virginia, I didn't include the one in Woodbridge, but we also have Manassas office that covers Prince William County, but we have an office in Alexandria, Fairfax, and Leesburg. If you live in an area that's outside of Northern Virginia, there's offices all over the state where you can apply for services. We are all required to provide services in the way I described them. So if you can call any of the 800 number that's there to apply for services, or to ask if those services, if you can participate in DARS services. All right, and that's it. That's my presentation. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, so one question, it says, can I have the slides? If Daniela, please, can you share the slides? We can, of course, post it in our website. And also, if can you provide your website where can people get access to your slides, that will be great too. And if you have any question, I don't see questions here. Okay, Miss Sherry Takemoto, can you please tell more about income? Younger than 18, and the family income cuts, and 18 older, it's the adult's income, correct?
Can you repeat the question? I'm not sure.
It says, can you please tell more about income? Younger than 18, the family income counts, and 18 older, it is the adult income, correct?
So if they're requesting vocational rehabilitation services, we do that require financial participation, then the documentation we review are the taxes where the individual is declared, whether they're younger than 18 or not. If, they can be 22 and still be declaring their parents' taxes. So that's what we would look at, whichever taxes they're being declared under.
Not exactly a question, but a thank you to you, Daniela, for being part of this beautiful Bienvenido series of webinars who will be in our archives and YouTube and Independence Center available for families to review your absolutely informative and helpful presentation. In this is particular, I mean, I always find this type of themes a little bit tricky to navigate because it's for us, for parents who are not familiar with the system, who English is not our first language, is another word. And your help and your very clear presentation is a tremendous help for those who are English speakers but not familiar with the system. And we will be always grateful because we will keep it in our Bienvenidos website, that it will be a live page, part of the Independence Center website, and people can come back anytime to review details of this very informative and impacting presentation. As I said, what a way for Independence Center to celebrate Employment Month, which is October, and having someone like you who has been committed to help young students to disability to find the path to a meaningful employment and independent life. We thank you so very much. And I have somebody else here. It says a person is eligible if legally able to work in the U.S., correct? Or doesn't have to be a citizen? It
So
has to
for
be.
the vocational rehabilitation services, that's the adult services, the applicant, the person who's applying for services with DARS, does have to be legally allowed to work in the United States. For the pre-ed services, they don't have to have documentation that they're allowed to work legally in the United States, but there's limits to what services we're able to provide because they cannot be direct employment because obviously they would need that paperwork for that. But students between the ages of 14 and 22 who don't have paperwork to work in the US can still apply for services, and we can focus on self-advocacy, work readiness, services, and career exploration. Those would be the main areas where we can explore. We just wouldn't be able to help them find a part-time job or things like that.
Which is still a wonderful
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, they just need to meet the criteria of 14 and
Ex
22 and
Exactly.
be enrolled in a
And
school.
go through the counselor in the high school.
That's right.
Yes, which is something that sometimes families they don't know exactly, the road, el camino to do that. And the services are there. It's not limitation in terms of finding a job, but finding a lot of support, which is still very, very impacting for the life of a youth with disabilities, because you are building skills for them to live independently, which is what we all they are working in this field. Is that's what we want to have these adults with disabilities have a dignity and productive life,
That's right.
and regardless of what type of documentation they have, they still be DARS and you and your unit are able to support them. And I just want to clarify, working permit, but not citizen. Working permit will be enough?
Absolutely, as long as it's as it
Valid.
hasn't expired, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, as long as it's not expired.
That open a great window
Yeah.
because we have so many students who have refugee status or green card, and
Yeah.
they're still able to qualify to obtain the support to find a job through your support and training and all of that. Let's see. I say, thanks for the very informative and helpful information. Muchísimas gracias. Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Also, we have something that said, can a person who is not fluent in English call to the agency?
Yes, absolutely. We use a system of an interpreting system through the phone. It might require us to call back once we're able to set it up. But yes, absolutely. Somebody who does not speak English can call, or English is not the language where they're most fluent in, can call, and we will make arrangements for interpreting.
Okay, we have a comment here. No problem at all. See, that says no problem at all. Okay,
Mhm.
good. Uh, Someone is asking for the slides. As I said, we will be posting the presentation in our Bienvenidos webpage, which is part of Independence Center. You can navigate, and if you can say that email, we can share the presentations directly, but it will be in our Independence Center website through Bienvenidos, which is part of this main webpage. Before you leaving, I want to ask the participants to please take the minute to respond our survey, because we always want to improve our improve more. This we don't need more improvement. I can tell you, but we really need to have the survey done by the participants, because it's part of how we show to our grantee that we are doing a great job, we are doing a great job, and our invites also are doing beautiful presentations, impacting presentations.
Announcements. We have announcements before everybody leaves.
Announcements before everybody leaves. We will host the biggest transition conference in Espanol on October the 25th. Of course, I'll be sending the invitation after this to you, Daniela. Please,
Perfect.
for DARS to have a resource table, and let's talk about
We will.
presenting. Let's
Sounds
talk
good.
about presenting a little bit that day, but it's going to be all day long with lunch included, Peruvian food, which is
So
the
good.
best. No, don't say that in front of Bolivian.
Bolivian food.
Ay, ay, ay. But I promise.
Bolivians in the house.
Bolivians in the, oh my God.
We love the Peruvian food too.
And a spectacular themes and invites and guest speakers, and most important, in a safe environment, will be at the Lover Run Community Center in Arlington, the Saturday the 25th, with all the security measures that in these moments we need, and from 10 to 3, and everybody's welcome. Everybody who speaks Spanish, because this is our space to share with Latino families about this important and critical information for our lives.
Yeah.
And I'll be sharing with you the flyer and the invitation.
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat already, and please share with families that will be benefit from this amazing opportunity, Festival Educativo en la Transición.
It's totally free, the cost.
Cost, oh no, free. We love free, full free, and most important, knowledge. Is that
Yeah, this is the link
for?
for the registration to the.
We sharing in the chat the registration link, but it is also in Independence Center website, and we will sharing with those who participated today. We'll be sending to the emails addresses, and they can share with the community who speaks Spanish. It has been a great honor to have you, Daniela. I will see you this
you.
afternoon at 7.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye, Daniela.